I know the market's a bit lower than it was 24 hours ago, but let me tell you, XRP has absolutely broken out. Seriously, I can't find a single analyst who would disagree with that right now. Out of all the XRP chart analysts I follow, and there are a lot, not one of them is saying otherwise. And let's be real here. Markets never move up in a perfect straight line. Sure, we're slightly lower than we were yesterday, but XRP is still holding strong. Honestly, even if XRP were quite a bit lower than it is right now, and I'll get into the details as we go along, it would still be considered a breakout. This is the real deal, no doubt about it. So in this video, I'm going to share some insights from top XRP chart analysts and talk a bit about what's happening in the broader crypto world. All right, let's dive in. I've got some great stuff to share with you. But before we jump in, I want to be upfront. I don't have any kind of financial background. This isn't financial advice. And please don't make any buy or sell decisions based on what I say, okay? As I'm recording this, it's July 15th, 2025. XRP is at $2.89. Yep, it's dropped to $2.89. Honestly, I love even being able to talk about this because I've been in this space for over 7.5 years now, and it's been an incredible journey. For most of the time I've held XRP, it's been sitting around 30, 40, maybe 50 cents. So when I say it dropped to 280 cents, I'm not exactly upset, especially knowing how well positioned it is for the future. This thing has serious potential to take off in a big way. Even analysts who aren't fans of XRP, usually because their analysis isn't the best, will admit it's set up to perform exceptionally well. It's already a strong performer, but there's so much more room for growth. Right now, XRP is at $2.89 and Bitcoin is at $116,952. Here's an update from chart analyst Mustache, shared just about an hour ago at 3:40 a.m. Central Time. He's looking at the market cap USDT dominance percentage. Yes, that's Tether. And he captioned it with hashtag altcoins saying, "Imagine being bearish even though Tether dominance is still miles away from the first real target. Send everything higher. As they say, dips like these are gifts. Wouldn't panic here, folks." Basically, analysts who've been in this game for a while aren't worried about what's happening right now or the dip we've seen in the last 24 hours. Sure, it's a small drop, but we're still way ahead compared to most of this year, especially with Bitcoin. As for Tether, think of it as dry powder ready to fuel the next move. There's a lot of potential just sitting on the sidelines right now. Take Tether, for example. It's bound to take a significant drop at some point. It hasn't happened yet, but when it does, it'll be a big moment. Why? Because that's when all that sideline capital is likely to flow into Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and other altcoins. It's something to keep an eye on as we gauge how close we are to the end of this cycle. This happens every cycle, and when Tether finally drops, it'll be a major signal. Trust me, I'll be shouting it from the rooftops when it happens. That moment will mark another sign that we're nearing the end of this bull run. Right now, though, there's no reason to panic. There are no major indicators signaling a top, no alarms going off. So stay calm. This isn't the time for fear. Let's keep watching the signs and ride this wave smartly. So there's been a little dip, sure, but the best is definitely still ahead. Here's an update from Mustache, who shared a chart about altcoins, specifically the crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, also known as Total 3. He pointed out that Total 3 has finally broken out of its downward trend after 7 long months. Mustache said, "I've lost count of how many times I've shared this chart over the past few months, but it's great to see things going according to plan." Looking ahead to 2023 and 2024, he believes we're just at the start of the best phase for altcoins. Honestly, he's been so consistent with these updates. It's wild how often he's shared this, but clearly he's onto something. So there's been a little dip, sure, but progress has been steady. I've been sharing updates along the way, and while there hasn't been any groundbreaking news, the analysis from reputable chart analysts remains consistent. They've insisted we're on the verge of a breakout, and what do you know? We've hit the apex, and it's shooting up. It's the same structural pattern we saw in 2023 and 2024. This is the moment when things historically go much higher. We've seen this play out before. So there's been a little dip, sure, but according to chart analyst Jelly, the 2-year moving average multiplier has been a reliable tool for spotting cycle tops, and we're not even close yet. The current cycle's 2Y max 3 is sitting at $185,000, which means there's still room to grow. Top indicators, they're just not showing up. Ask any reputable analyst. We might be getting closer time-wise, but even when those indicators start appearing, it doesn't mean it's time to panic sell. It just means we're nearing the end of the cycle. This phase can last for a while. We won't know exactly how long. The key is to recognize when the end is approaching and plan your moves accordingly. But for now, we're not there yet. Not even close. Here's an interesting post from chart analyst Gert van Lagen. He points out that the short 2021 bull market could leave a lot of people on the sidelines if we see a blow-off top like in 2013 or 2017. A lot of people are expecting diminishing returns, and that's something I've been talking about recently too. The idea is pretty straightforward. The more money that flows into an asset class, the harder it gets to double or triple its value. It's just math, really. So from one market cycle to the next, the percentage returns are likely to shrink, even though the actual dollar gains might still grow. It's an interesting dynamic, and of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, but it's definitely something worth keeping in mind. And if that does happen, wow, let me tell you, 2021 was fun, no doubt about it, but it doesn't even come close to the absolute madness of 2017. 2017 was a whole other level of wild. There was a time when no matter what you bought, you just couldn't lose money. Even if you tried to make a bad decision, it was wild. Everything was going up and picking the wrong coin was nearly impossible until it wasn't. Time passed, bubbles inflated, and of course, they eventually popped. But for that brief moment, it felt like you couldn't lose money even if you gave it your best shot. That period was something else, very different from what we saw in 2021. If we're heading into anything remotely like that again, it's going to be one heck of a ride, especially for XRP. Fun fact, back in 2017, XRP was the top performing coin of the entire cycle. Yep, number one in the whole asset class. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Wizard about XRP USD that he calls freaky. Do you see what I mean now? XRP has broken out after a long period of sideways movement, just like it did in the summer of 2017. It's already up 35.36% from this call, and there's still room to grow. Looks like he was spot on again. He's also sharing one of his older posts from June 30th, which I showed in a previous video, pointing out how XRP alone is showing patterns similar to 2017. If the entire market follows suit, wow, nobody's ready for that kind of action. Now, I'm not making any predictions here, but if he's right, let's just say whatever life-changing wealth you're imagining, you might want to multiply that. It could get that intense. Check this out. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Michael from way back on July 3rd. He predicted that XRP's next big move would be insanely parabolic. His exact words, slowly, then all at once. Looks like he was spot on. In his chart, he highlighted how we'd spent most of 2025 moving sideways after the big jump in late 2024. You can see that massive candle right there. And now, well, XRP has broken out in a big way, like a jailbreak. It's wild to see his prediction playing out. Slowly, then all at once. That's exactly how it happens. On July 3rd, he confidently stated that consolidation was complete. That's not something he says lightly or every day. It's a conclusion he reached because the data supported it. And guess what? He was right. Just yesterday, he reposted this and added, if you're not already paying attention to XRP, you will be very soon. This is a repeat of the 2017 rally. The next leg up will be one for the history books. Here's the thing. Another respected analyst, someone who accurately predicted XRP's breakout in 2024, is echoing this sentiment. Meanwhile, there are still skeptics out there dismissing XRP just because the price has been low. But let's set the record straight. Price alone isn't the ultimate indicator of an asset's long-term value or utility. Sometimes great assets like XRP are simply undervalued. Let's talk about buying opportunities. It's not rocket science. Some people say it's a bad idea to buy just because something's cheap, but think about it. When prices are really high, is that the better time to buy? If you don't want XRP at 50 cents, are you going to wait until it hits $10 to recommend it? That logic doesn't make much sense, right? Here's the thing. If you're not paying attention to XRP now, you probably will be soon. A lot of analysts, including those who've been spot on about market trends so far, are predicting a repeat of the 2017 rally. And guess what? They might be onto something. XRP has been consolidating for about 6 months, exactly like it did in previous cycles. We're excited to see things continue moving in the right direction, and they already are. Unless the entire crypto market collapses, which seems unlikely, we're in a solid spot. Of course, if some black swan event happens that could change things, but honestly, I don't see that happening. Now, let's dive into the charts. Mikey Bull Crypto showing us the XRP USD chart with a potential God candle on the horizon following the 2017 playbook. Pretty exciting, right? Oh, and by the way, this is all super recent, literally from yesterday. Crypto Wizard also had some great insights yesterday afternoon. So yesterday afternoon, Crypto Michael, also known as Mikey Bull Crypto, was talking about something interesting. You pointed out that we're seeing some patterns similar to the 2017 playbook. Back then, there was a big consolidation about 6 months after the first pump. And then like clockwork, the second pump came around 6 months later. Now, here we are again, one big pump, 6 months go by. What do you think happens next? Probably the same thing. Here's a fun post from Chart Animals, Peppa. So there's one from July 7th that's pretty funny. It talks about XRP's 3-day chart trying to break out of half a year of consolidation. That's a big deal. Back on July 7th, the price was $2.34. Remember when XRP was $2.34? Yeah, that was just 8 days ago. Wild, right? Anyway, Peppa included this hilarious throwback image of someone blowing on an old Sega Genesis cartridge trying to make it work. Classic nostalgia. But here's the thing. Blowing on the cartridge didn't actually do anything. Mind blown, right? It was really just the act of taking it out, jiggling it around, and putting it back in that fixed it. If you don't believe me, seriously, Google it. I promise I'm not making this up. So here's the deal. He mentioned that XRP was trying to break out after half a year of consolidation. This was back on July 7th. And guess what? It did. He shared an update at $2.79, noting it had already broken out by that point. For context, that's about 10 cents lower than where it is as I'm sharing this now. His reaction? Holy crap, XRP bears are in trouble. Even if the price were a bit lower, it would still be holding above this important trend line that dates all the way back to the start of the year. It's clear, it's broken out, and it's done so in a strong, confident way. XRP has broken out recently, which is super exciting. But one thing I really want to emphasize in this video is that this doesn't mean that the price will just shoot straight up in a perfectly smooth line. It rarely works that way. In fact, XRP's price is a bit lower now than it was last night. Yesterday afternoon, it hit around $3.01 or $3.02, according to Live Coin Watch, which is awesome to see, but a little fluctuation like this is totally normal. Honestly, it would be strange if it didn't happen. So no worries, this is all good stuff. XRP just grabbed liquidity at the $3 zone. So what's next? Are we looking at new all-time highs on the horizon? It's definitely possible. So far, we've seen 2 attempts to break through that $3 level, but as I've mentioned in previous videos, every time price taps that resistance, it weakens. That means it gets easier to break through with each attempt. Why is it tough to push past this level? Simple. There are a ton of sell orders waiting there. Over time, as more of those sell orders get filled, it clears the way for buyers to push higher. Of course, if the market runs out of steam and there's exhaustion on both sides, we could see the price dip back down. It all depends on momentum and how much buying power is left in the market. When you go back up there again, most of those orders have already been sold. Sure, some new sellers might step in, but a lot of the action's already happened. So at that point, more buyers tend to jump in, but typically there are fewer of them, which means it gets even easier the next time. The takeaway here, XRP has already grabbed liquidity around the $3 zone on its second attempt. So what's next? Could we be looking at XRP reaching new all-time highs? So we've seen a bit of a market-wide pullback recently, but things are still looking promising. And it's not just one person eyeing that key $3 level for XRP. Chart analyst CW is on the same page. Just yesterday, CW pointed out that XRP has broken through the sell wall with only one final resistance left. He's predicting a massive rise ahead. Now, while we didn't fully break through that resistance just yet, you could definitely argue that the barrier is seriously weakened. It feels like it's just a matter of time before it takes off. CW is also eyeing the next target zone between $3.20 and $3.40. Once we hit that, which lines up with the all-time high from earlier this year, it's like we're strapping in for a rocket to the upside. This is the moment we're all waiting for. Here's a post from chart analyst Zoom sharing some insights on XRP. According to him, XRP just needs to break the 0.786 level to hit new all-time highs, around $3. Everyone seems to agree that this is a key level to watch. Now, whether you think they're being too quick to call it or not, the market is pulled back a bit, but that level is already weakened. Once XRP breaks through it, and then 340, it's clear skies ahead. There aren't a ton of sell orders above 340, so things could get exciting pretty quickly after that. Here's an interesting update from Crypto Insight. The UK is predicting that XRP could break $3 on its next push. That's what was mentioned yesterday afternoon, so now we just have to wait and see what happens when it taps that level again. It's important to remember how this works. Each time a price level is tested, it weakens a bit, making it more likely to break through eventually. This applies in both directions. If we were in a downtrend and a support level kept getting tested, it would become more likely that the price would break down and fall further. But in this case, we're looking at an upward trend, so it's the same idea, just flipped. If XRP keeps testing $3, there's a good chance it'll break through soon. Here's an interesting post from chart analyst XRP. After more than 6 months of waiting, we're finally at the last hurdle before things can move forward. And what's he pointing out? The same zone we've been watching. Take a look at what he's highlighting here. There's the $3 level, but the real challenge is $3.40, which marks XRP's all-time high. Once we clear that, it's all systems go, straight to the moon. It's hard to ignore how clear this looks. After 340, there's practically nothing in the way. And honestly, I keep seeing this same sentiment from so many chart analysts. When this many people are saying the same thing, they're usually right. It's just how it tends to play out. So here's to the next big move. Here's an update from chart analyst Dom. XRP is up an impressive 38% since the first post in this thread just 2 weeks ago. Back then, Dom mentioned this could very well be the turning point for a new bullish trend, and he nailed it. After nearly 6 weeks away from the charts, he came back, spotted the inflection point, and called it. Pretty awesome, right? Now, XRP has clearly broken out and is moving up. Dom says the last major level to flip is $3. While some might argue it could be $3.40, he's keeping it simple and calling it $3 for now. Either way, another analyst agrees this is a key level to watch. The best is yet to come, folks. If you're not excited already, I don't know what to tell you. You've got to feel the energy here. Quick reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. Please don't make any buying or selling decisions based on what I share. Always do your own research.